Good morning, and welcome to Sinister Sunrise. Well, welcome back, because this is episode 2. Yes, and I'm Morgan.
Erin.
Sarah.
We're all here to talk to you today about the Missouri State Penitentiary. Penitentiary.
I say penitentiary.
It's potentially the penitentiary.
I'm gonna say prison.
Oh.
And like Sarah mentioned on the last episode, every week since there are 3 of us, we didn't want anyone to miss out and always have to go last or always have to be in the middle or go first. So every week we'll have a different tiebreaker or game of fate. This week, I brought to the table my gemstones. It's in a box, and it's really tiny, actually. Like, the box is probably the size of my hand. But then the drawer that the rocks and stones are in is even littler. Ooh. So, ladies, you pull this up.
Yeah. It's forged from the fires of
and
our
then this
ancestors.
comes out.
Whoa.
Right.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, maybe we'll post a picture of it on my Instagram.
Yeah.
On the Instagram.
Yes.
So in here, I just have a couple of my gems. So we'll use a smoky quartz.
Okay.
I'd like some ooze, thank you.
Oh.
I have a rose quartz.
Oh.
Pretty. Thanks.
Yeah,
I have a couple more in here, but then my last one is jade. Okay, so we all know the favorite. So I figured this is like kind of an odd way to go about it, but I figured, I'll just shake them up in my hand and we can just decide. So if you get jade, you're going first.
Okay. Jade is first.
Jade is first.
Got it.
Rose quartz, second.
Got it.
Second rose.
Smoky quartz, third.
All right.
Okay?
Okay.
Open. Ah, mother.
Look at that.
All right, so I got jade, which means first. Sarah got rose.
Woo!
Aaron got smoke.
Last.
All right.
I'm about it.
Is it smoke that's like burning rubber? Like you're
Actually, I don't.
Is it?
You know what? It means this
Is that a
week.
jab at me?
That's what it means this week.
burn rubber, Erin.
Right.
And get on down to the Missouri State Pen.
Oh my god. Right. It's not that far from us, y'all. Jeff City's like.
Jefferson
Do you know
City.
why Jeff City is the capital?
What?
Because
Wait, what?
Because they had the Missouri State Penitentiary. That solidified them as the capital back in the day.
Okay, I'm Sarah.
Oh.
I'm going first. Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
Just kidding. Okay. And also, like everyone said last week, we all got to like say like a little baby story about like what we like to do and what our passions are, which what we're bringing to the podcast. So we are all sticking to that this week. So I will be starting us off with ghosts.
Yeah.
Tell us all about them.
Yes.
Woo.
I'm ready.
So
for this.
I did do a little bit of background on the prison. I'm going to keep using that word.
Is that the word you would like to use?
Yeah, it is, because
Okay.
it's the one I can say. Okay, so obviously, like we said, Missouri State Prison, it is in Jefferson City, Missouri. It was a prison from 1836 to 2004. So the math was already calculated for me online, 168 years.
Dang.
It was considered a maximum security prison. So basically from the website I did find, or from the website of Missouri State Penitentiary.com, I did find out a lot about them just through their main actual website. So they do host ghost hunting tours throughout the year. They are closed from January to like March, just because of the weather, because the majority of it is very old buildings and like the elements of outside is what you experience when you're taking a tour. So
Yeah.
they knew they wouldn't probably make that much
Makes
during
sense.
those times. We'll start with executions. So one of the first things that
Off on a great
the
note.
end.
Yeah.
right, straight to the death.
Yeah.
So, in 1937, there was a proposed bill for lethal gas to be used for the very first time, because back in the day, all it was hangings, and I believe, like, the hangings and, like, just a single shot to the head was what they did, and that was done by the sheriff, so it was, like, all on him.
Oh,
Every single death was on his hands, like,
Oh my
Whoa.
God.
yeah,
I
was
made
like,
a lot of money.
Yeah.
right?
The sheriff's bringing a lot of baggage home.
That's emotional baggage.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like I said, 1937 is when they, like, proposed that bill, which would mean no more hangings, no more just, like, fatal shots. The bill was changed to the electric chair, but before the electric chair was brought into the prison, gas was used on 40 inmates between 1937 and 1989. One thing was, so it was on the website from the Fulton Sun, and they had an article about Tom Wells, who was a prison guard in 1989. I don't know exactly how long he served, but he was there for quite some time, and now he does tours.
Met him.
Yes, there's the resident Missouri State prison expert.
Hey, I did not go to school there. I am not the alumni. I just visited on the weekends.
Right. So, he told this story originally first in, 2018. This just happened when he was a guard. So, he was in one of the halls and was doing their normal, nightly counts. So, making sure all the inmates are in their cells that they're supposed to be, and he was actually standing there talking to an inmate, having just normal, actual conversation with them, which is shocking that they talk to each other like another human. But he was just talking to him, and he, something caught the guard out of the corner of his eye, and he turned and looked and saw a guy walking out the door, and he's like, what the heck? It's count time. Where are you guys? Where are you going?
Absolutely.
So he books it and goes out, because there's other guards, obviously, in the hall, making sure.
Yeah.
So he books it outside and sees, he can't find the guy anywhere. He's like, okay, he must have run around the corner. Goes around the side of the building. Can't find him anywhere. Then he looks around, he's like, crap, there's a van that they use to bring supplies to and from. He's like, crap, he's trying to really escape. He's in the van.
No.
He goes and he flings the van doors open, no one in there. And he turns around and he's like, what the heck? And looking all around. And the inmate that he had been talking to is standing in the doorway. And the inmate says, you're never going to find that guy you're looking for. And he goes, what do you mean? He goes, I know who you're looking for. The guy with the long blonde hair and the white t-shirt. And the guard says, yeah, that's the guy. And he says, you're never going to find him. There's no guy that looks like that in this hall. And then of course the guard's like, oh my God, you're right. So he saw a ghost. So that is a frequent, and the fact that the inmates have seen him, the guard has seen him. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, no thanks.
Sarah's turning into a turtle.
Please hold. I'm going to keep wrapping myself up tighter and tighter. I get goosebumps.
Yeah, I know that one. I did all this research at 11 o'clock at night, so I was very quiet in my house, and I was like, oh gosh. So yeah. Okay. Oh, back to the tours. So all the stories are different, everything like that. I did tell Sarah this earlier. Obviously, they have the different types of tours. You can go and you can do a $26 tour, and it's just a couple hours during the day. Mm-hmm. They have, special ones at night. They have overnights that are $100 plus.
They have overnight ones?
They sure do.
That's game changing.
Overnight.
They sure do. But one of the tours, if you go from June to September, you can have an ex-inmate lead the tour.
What?
Because again, it's been they stopped being a prison in 2004. So
what do we think he did?
That's right. My mind.
Can you ask that kind of question, or are they no comment?
Right. I don't know. And I reread the sentence 3 times, and I'm like, no, it says led by an ex-inmate. So yeah, I hope it's the charges were dropped. We'd hope.
I hope it's like a Chris Rock character from The Longest Yard, just real chatty.
So that's something currently on the website that you're
mm-hmm.
You can put it in and ask.
Yeah, when I clicked on the different types of tours, I was like, oh wow, these price ranges are $26 is that's pretty cheap for an actual tour
mm-hmm.
of a historical site.
Yeah.
And then I see the $100 one, and I see something else, and I'm looking at all the details, and I was like, wait, what?
Yeah,
that one,
the inmate one expensive?
That one did not have a price. So I think it's because it depends on if the inmate is available. But yeah,
can I request what kind of inmate I want? I want to learn about thievery. Can I please have?
Correct.
I'm trying to make more money than I can.
Yes, that's exactly how it works. Probably one of the things I noticed the most was, again, I tried really hard to find specific stories of what happened. Mm-hmm. It seems that there's a lot of more memorable stories and things like that from the actual tour guides, and kind of everyone has their own experience. But what I did notice was on Yelp and TripAdvisor, normally I'd be like, Yelp, meh, but there was a lot of reviews, and on Yelp they had a 4.8 out of 5, and TripAdvisor had a 5-star review for just this. Yeah. Everyone's most of them were from Kansas City. Uh-huh. They were like, it's well worth the drive, so I've never heard of a 5-star on TripAdvisor for something so, not a resort. So,
yeah. Haunted tour?
Right, for a haunted tour. So, one of the reviews, or two of them from Yelp I want to read. So, Chris R. says it was the best decision ever to book the overnight tour. Cell 10 gave them readings. They all could, like, bring in their own devices.
Oh, cool.
Housing Unit 4 was the most active. They asked for the entity to tap on anything, and sure enough, 3 taps were able to be heard from a table that no one was sitting at. So, just, like, yeah. And then they did feel like touches and even heard a whistle at one point. And then another review from Yelp, Kate K. It felt like someone was like touching my hair. And finally, when I brought it to a tour guide's attention, they said, yeah, there's a lot of male spirits that touch women's hair.
Ew.
Yeah, so gross.
I wonder what shampoo they use.
Oh, and then TripAdvisor again was a 5-star. And then on another website that I found, it's called thegravetalks.com. I just was like a fun fact that this is nearly 100 years older than Alcatraz.
Ooh.
So something to think about, because
I did
Alcatraz
not
is
know
like,
that.
yeah, very well known, and yeah, we were older here in Missouri. Good old Missouri. Okay, so another site that had like the most details of, stories and stuff was Week in Weird. That's Week in Weird, 3 words.com. The article is written by Dana Matthews in 2015. The people who did the overnight tour, you're kind of allowed to go on your own. And some of the things that they noticed was like, it's crazy that there's still body odor. It's like, because the stones are so old and the people were packed into the cells that you can literally still like, it's almost, because they were like, yeah, you can smell it. So it's like, you can like almost feel them there. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah, it's gross.
Nope.
Many of the people on this particular tour did see shadows. They were down one of the long halls, and they tried, like when you're in those kind of situations, you kind of try to like reason out what it could possibly be. So the team said that they were like, we tried so hard to just like imagine it being an animal or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But they were it was too small to be a cat or a rat or anything like that. They said they could definitely see them moving. They were only 25 feet away, but made no noise. So it's definitely like shadow figures, Cell 48 seems to be the most active. That is where a snitch named Walter Darnell was bludgeoned to death with a hammer.
Talk, Walter.
Right, like Walter. Yeah. Apparently what it was is like actually the other inmates who thought he snitched, we don't know for sure. They busted out the wall and then bludgeoned him to death with a hammer.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So, kind of the big scandal of Cell 48.
Like, where'd the hammer come from?
Yeah.
Right.
Why don't
That's
you
what I
use
would
that
like
to
to
bust
know.
out of prison? I can think of a better wall to bust through. Like, dang.
Said they busted out of walls, they busted people's skulls, like, ugh. On that, again, the same tour that Dana Matthews wrote about, they did catch disembodied voices on their recorders and even felt someone breathe down their neck.
I hate the breath thing.
Sarah's having a little conniption over there.
Yeah.
2 people in this particular group did say that Cell 48 felt a shift in gravity. They said that like they literally felt like their feet were stuck to the ground, like they couldn't move.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just kind of like a weird, I've never heard it say like a shift in gravity, so it's just interesting.
Yeah.
And to quote one of the people on the tour, it felt physically heavier in here.
Mm-hmm.
Like thick air. Yeah. And then on that exact same tour, they were catching, obviously, like I said, like voice phenomenons, things like that. Someone on the tour actually even just like broke down with how like much sorrow they felt from it. So like people who were kind of sensitive to that.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very, scary, sad place to be. So yeah, it's just to break down in front of strangers, you kind of have to be pretty emotionally taken by that.
Yeah,
So
overwhelmed and everything.
Right. Okay, and to wrap things up, I'm going to talk about, I did see on the Travel Channel website that our good friends and our beloved Zach from Ghost Adventures, they have visited. I did just pretty much watch like the summary of the episode. I know I've seen it in the past, but just to kind of get the highlights of it. And obviously, if you've never seen this show, they do have 3 gentlemen. Oh man, that's so bad.
Zach, Erin,
and Nick. I was like, I
Yes.
can't remember Erin. Not so bad. But the actual AA Ron and Nick and Zach, they go out in the field. They go out in the field or, wherever they're doing their tour. And then there's like the home base where they have usually a man or 2, watching the cameras, radioing them, making sure everything's safe. And in this particular episode, I have never really seen where they, the home base, like talks to like a recording device with no one in the room. And they did that.
Oh.
So, before we get to that, one of the things that is really probably the scariest thing in the whole prison that I could see was they still have the gas chamber. So it's a separate building from, everything else. And I'm sure my lovely ladies will talk more about that. They did have Erin go into the gas chamber, and he is sitting in one of the...
Erin go.
Of course they made Erin. Poor Erin.
We should send him some flowers.
Right. They did make him go in there, and he apparently was in there for like over 30 minutes. He's sitting in the chair, just like had a spirit box, and was trying to get people to talk to him. And you heard a distinct female voice say, "Sorry." Yeah, so it is like, is that the spirit of the one female that was executed? We don't know. So they did have Nick out and about in some of the halls. And you clearly hear a man's voice come through and say, Stop fucking with me, demon. Like three separate.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, and of course they replayed it like 4 times.
Yes.
I'm like, oh, getting chills every time. Yeah. It was bad. And again, so they had the gentleman at base kind of walking, because they had 3 individual cameras set up in rooms that Nick, Erin, and Zach were not in. And I stupidly don't know the name of this device, but it kind of has like that automatic like text that comes up on the screen, and it's like a robot voice that comes through. So they had that set up, and the guys at home base were asking him questions like, who's here? What are you doing? And we get no response. But out of nowhere, it just started talking without being questioned. And it said, Reverend, Informant, Jesus. This is called the Ovulus device. Just hit me. Obvious device. And then, like, when they brought Zach back into home base, they were talking to him about it. They did get further words, and it said, twist men apart.
Ew, nope.
And, like, it's not obvious, it's like that robot voice where it's like, twist men apart.
Yes.
So it was a very, like, spooky way to end on it. But yes, so obviously there's not a whole lot written about people's actual specific encounters, but basically everything I read was anytime you go, you definitely feel, hear, or see something abnormal, supernatural. So, yeah.
Do you want to know something super crazy about those tours?
Yeah.
Yes.
I took the daytime one, and they take you to the gas chamber, and they let you sit in there and take pictures.
Yeah, I did read that on one of the reviews. Like, one person was, like, so upset that they let you do that. And I was like, I see both sides of it as, like, a respect thing, but it's like, but it's also open, no one's doing, like, it's not an open gas chamber.
Like, play dead, or, like, smile. And like in ours, we were just sitting there, and there was this little kid in the background cheesing ear to ear. Yeah, and I was like, oh god, this feels so wrong. Like, it feels like the 1800s, and like, let me collect parcels of your... Yeah.
I definitely will say, like, the gas chamber, like, the very limited pictures that I did see, it's very, like, it, like, reminds me of, like, a submarine. Like, because the door is just so big, and just, yeah, and so pristine and white. And,
well, yeah, it's very, like, minimalist, kind of, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's not a lot going on there.
Yeah. At first I thought it was the electric chair, because everything's just so, like, sterile and metal. Like, everything's white and metal. I was like, oh, this is the electric chair. And they're like, this is the gas chamber. And I was like,
oh, wait, maybe it was the electric chair. I sat in one of them.
No, you can sit in the gas chamber.
Maybe it was both.
Yeah, you haunted.
Thank you for saging my apartment.
You're welcome.
Since have you been there too?
I have not.
Okay. But you have. Did you have any, like, weird feelings or
No,
anything?
I don't think I'm as in tuned as you are, Morgan. Like, I never feel stuff.
Yeah.
You'd almost have to, like, punch me in the face. And I'm like, wow, there must be a ghost.
Yeah.
So, but you've only done the day ones.
So
obviously, we have to try at night. Just saying.
Overnight?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's hope I don't get emotional like I did when we were at the Lemp. But, yeah.
That's
a story for another time.
I just want to see something. Like, I feel like I'm all...
Same.
Maybe I'm trying too hard. Like, you gotta take the laid-back approach with the ghosties.
If it happens, it happens. Don't overthink.
Don't expect it.
Yeah.
And it will come.
I just had this terrible thought more like, show yourself. And I never see anything. Like, at the
just make them angry and start
probably.
Yelling.
They're probably hiding on purpose. Like, this girl is like, she gets nothing.
No.
Right. No ghost for you.
Basically. All right, guys. Thanks for the ghosties. You ready for my part of the story?
Yes.
Okay. So mine's about dream. Just kidding. It's not. Mine is about, that would be terrifying. In a prison? No. If we do tour tonight, I will not be sleeping there. I can only imagine what's going to happen. My eyes are closed.
Overnight, like, we're awake the whole time.
Okay, that makes sense.
And we walk it in a tripod formation with our backs together, so we all have angles. Nothing can come up behind us.
I just imagine, like, a Scooby-Doo episode.
I mean, yeah. That's...
Just all hanging on each other.
Yeah. Except for there's no ghost to catch. Like,
well, you don't know.
I don't want to catch it and bring it back.
We just find it.
And then put them back.
Yeah. We don't take them with us. They can stay there.
There's no mask for pulling off.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so we're going to cover the ghosties. I know Erin's going to get a little more true crime as usual, but I just wanted to kind of give a background of our prison system in America and how it would have been around the 1950s for the stories you guys are covering. Mm-hmm. So, obviously, prison is never somewhere you want to end up, but I chose to focus on the prison system after the Civil War in America and how it led into our penal system.
You said penal.
In the 1950s.
Serious.
Let me start that over.
Get serious.
Mm-hmm. Penal. Why is that even a word?
I don't know, but can we leave all this in, please? Because I...
in this regard, penal means...
Penally!
The penitentiarial system.
Okay, Morgan!
That sounds better, am I right?
Yeah.
Okay, so, starting at the very awkward American Civil War, which ended in 1865. Mm-hmm. I ashamedly had to Google that.
And that's okay.
I'm shaking my head that I trust you. I have no idea.
If I was like, 1999 it ended.
I've been like, I think you're off by like 5 years.
I'm not a history major, so.
Great.
Yeah.
Anyway, so it ended in 1865. The number of U.S. penitentiary buildings in the South and the West, jumped. There's some everywhere. And then their inmate populations started swelling over to 30,000 people.
Jesus.
And because racism was alive and well in the South for a hot minute there, African Americans became the majority of the inmates. They also replaced the high number of immigrants that used to be there. So, as you can imagine, overcrowding, disease, abuse of convicts at both the guard and fellow criminals' hands really kind of kept the death tolls high. So, because of the overcrowding, even murderers condemned to life rarely served their full sentence. There was just no way to keep everyone in there. Also, in the South, chain gangs became very common. Does anyone know what a chain gang is?
I was just going to raise my hand and say, ma'am, what is a chain gang?
Yeah.
I love Johnny Cash, and he has that song there ain't no good and an evil-hearted woman. Anybody? No. You guys get some culture.
We're trying. Hello,
yeah.
I'm
Any Johnny
to
Cash listeners? Anyway, a chain gang, for those of you who don't know, myself included, is not just a Johnny Cash song. It is a group of prisoners chained together to perform menial or physically challenging work as a form of punishment.
Like, oh brother, where art thou?
Yes. And they would work for 15 hours a day in terrible conditions.
Jeez.
And they weren't getting the money. They weren't getting paid at all.
Yeah.
It was going back towards the prison and the state.
Huh.
It dug a lot of those states out of debt. Huh. So, yeah.
Pros and cons, pros and cons.
Pros and convicts, if you will. So anyway, all around, not a good place to be.
Yeah.
Northerners also explored these new models. We used some crazy stuff in the North also, which, actually, no. I'm saying we, but I think Missouri's technically in the South.
You know what? We both.
I like that. We both.
We can say y'all. We can say you guys.
Depends on the day.
Mm-hmm.
So we did things like all day in silence. We tested experimental medical treatments on inmates, and all types of inmates were sharing cells. So murderers, thieves, it doesn't really matter. But I will say all of the really dangerous ones they put on the top level, and that was to prevent breakouts. Because they were the ones highest to try and get out because they're there forever.
Flight
Why not
risk.
try? Yeah. But yet again, I don't know why they're busting through walls to bash in people's heads, but whatever.
I mean, they're already there forever.
You know what? That's a good point.
But also, why would you be mad if someone snitched on you like you already in prison?
I've never been to prison. I don't know.
You know what? Maybe when you get the hammer in your hand, all thoughts are just gone.
What could I do with the hammer? So anyway, with this in mind and everything else, the prison population's quadrupled in 3 decades. Now we're in the 1950s. I know we jumped a little bit, but this is when psychologists finally started to get concerned about our American prison system. So just a couple bullet points here. There are about 23,000 people in federal prison at this time, and 186,000 people in state prisons. Our beloved Missouri State Penitentiary would be one of them. Mm-hmm. So none of them had a lot of space. So we were concerned about how many people were in there and the exponential growth. We were not focused on rehabilitation. Prison was viewed as a punishment, and that way they just want you there to deter potential criminals from engaging in illegal acts. So they don't really care what happens to you after you get out. They just want you to be punished while you're in there.
Yes.
And also, they did not want to help you get job skills because they don't want to take jobs away from the clean-cut people. So basically, we weren't giving anyone tools to help them once they're out. We were kind of like, you did something bad. Sorry. Sucks for you.
You didn't get your GED. You're never going to get it.
Basically, they're not going to help you, which is just going to keep leading to leading to more things. But also in this time, about 60% of criminals were repeating their crimes.
That's a high number.
Yes, it is. And there's no organized rule regarding parole. Violent criminals were let out on parole while non-violent criminals remained in prison for their entire sentence. This problem does continue today, but it's not as bad as it was.
Mm-hmm.
And as I mentioned before, there was a lot of overcrowding. Prison cells meant to hold 1 or 2 inmates often contained 4 or more. And I'm so weird on my bathroom situations, and these poor people had to share toilets and live in dirt and squalor. That to me is the meanest part of the whole thing. Probably not to them, but I could barely share a dorm room with 1 bathroom, so.
Yeah. Yes.
So, things kept getting stricter and stricter. Guards were getting more training. Because we still didn't really understand how the human mind worked, I guess, at that time. So, this is crazy. They talk about this on the tour also, but guards would escort prisoners in formation to and from their cells, forcing them to hold their arms across their chests while moving about the facility. So, something the tour guide also said, they don't do this anymore, but they would have the prisoners lean over, and their doors would be smaller, so they're constantly, like, in a opposing formation, if that makes sense. Like, there's no way for them to really act out.
If they're doing that. Yeah.
Yes.
That makes sense.
Also, casual conversation between inmates and guards was strongly discouraged. If a prisoner wanted to speak with the guard, he was required to remove his hat, cross his arms over his chest, and address the guard by his formal parliamentary rank.
Wow.
Yes. So a lot of division and like rights and everything. Corporal punishment was the favored method of discipline. I don't know what this is, but a newspaper article describes one prisoner was whipped in a spanking machine.
I don't want to know.
And say any thoughts on that? Because that...
Did you see any spanking machines when you were there?
I would
on the
think
tour?
they tucked those away. Those don't
They burned it, so they would
I went
never...
on the daytime family fun tour. That machine's got to be not for us.
I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
I don't know.
They keep that for the overnighters. To show. I don't know, that sounded real bad.
At nightfall, there's a spanking machine. No.
Oh, God. Like, I didn't see anything else about this. I don't know where it came from. If it's real, don't tell me. I'd like to believe it's not. I'm just reporting you guys.
You didn't decide to Google
She's
it
just
and see
here
what
reporting
popped
the
up.
facts, ladies and gentlemen.
That's just it. I only report what I read. Around 1955, which is when you guys are talking about, finally so many riots and public outcries were happening, the United Nations standard minimum rules for the treatment of prisoners was adopted. Finally, conditions started getting better in the late 50s and 60s. So that is where we're at today. My part was a little short, but yeah, conditions didn't sound great. They weren't getting any better. No one was happy.
Yeah.
There were spanking machines.
Yep.
Where'd they go? We don't know, but they were there.
I think there's
apparently.
some things that need to be destroyed.
And that was probably one of them.
Yes.
Right off the bat.
I did read about the, like, because obviously the ghosts lived in, or not the ghosts, but the individuals before their death did live in the cells. Mm-hmm. So I read, like, a little bit about that and that whole, like, what you were talking about, like, the arms crossed thing. Mm-hmm. And, like, the reason the doors were low is to make them have to bow.
Yes.
That's crazy.
Oh.
Like, it's like, yes, master. Like, ugh.
No,
ugh.
I mean, think of, like, how much anger and, like, you're just repressing so much stuff like that. Like,
yeah.
You can't beat someone down all the time and expect them not to have riots and everything.
Right.
Yeah.
And that many people in one area, let alone a, like, nasty, like...
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, that guard that led the tour, he was kind of talking, like, where's the safest place for a prisoner to be? Any guesses?
The safest place for a prisoner to be.
In the cell or in the common areas?
So, I don't know.
The safest? I don't know.
Not in the prison.
It's a trick question.
No, it's in the common areas because you don't want them to be just sitting in their room like boiling away all day and just thinking about ways to get back at you. You want them to almost have a nicer life.
Weren't there like riots too?
Yes, there's some huge ones.
Yeah.
There was a big one at the Missouri State
Penitentiary. I thought there was. That's why I was curious. Yeah. I thought there had been like at least one big riot. A
lot of it came from the snitch guy, so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
You got a hammer, you got a riot.
If there's a hammer, there's a way.
There's a way. Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah. Well, thanks, Sarah. That was cool.
You're welcome.
Interesting.
Be happy we live here now.
Yeah.
And not in a prison in 1950.
All right. So thank you, Morgan, and thank you, Sarah, for talking about the Missouri State Penitentiary for a bit, the history and the ghosts. So I'm going to be talking about two criminals who were arrested and put in the Missouri Penitentiary, but also the story isn't just about them. I really don't want to focus on them, but more on like the victim.
Yes.
So we're going to end on a sad note, guys. I'm sorry.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
We'll pick it back up somewhere.
Yes. This is a story of the kidnapping and murder of 6-year-old Bobby Greenlease. So all of my information was gathered from Murderpedia, basically just based off of like 2 articles. There were a ton of articles on the website, so plenty to pick and choose from, but the one from FBI.org and CrimeRack.com are the ones I'm basing kind of all this information in the story off of.
Cool.
So, on September 28th, 1953, in Kansas City, Missouri, a woman goes to the entrance of the French Institute of Notre Dame de Zion, just an elementary school.
Is it supposed to be design, or is it really de Zion?
That is what the pronunciation thing says.
Oh,
so.
Okay. I thought the term be fancy, like de money, or actually that money.
No, it says Day, like D-E, and then S-I-O-N, which I do think is Zion. So I think that's the pronunciation.
Sorry, never mind.
That's okay. I don't speak French, so I would not know.
I
But
also do not.
okay.
Yeah, me neither.
Yes.
I just speak country twang.
Yes. So this woman approaches the building, the elementary school, and Sister Morand approached the woman, and the woman claimed to be the aunt of Bobby Greenlease. So she informed the sister that she was picking up Bobby to take him to St. Mary's Hospital, where his mother was being transported after suffering from a heart attack. Sister Morand recalls the woman being visibly upset as she waited for Bobby in the chapel. So she was crying, she was saying prayers, seemed to be acting concerned for the state of Bobby's mother. Okay. So without questioning the woman, Sister Morand gathered Bobby, told him that his aunt was there to pick him up, and she didn't inform Bobby about the state of his mother, which made good idea.
Yeah. Good call.
Yeah. Once at the entrance, Bobby was handed off to the aunt, who walked next to Bobby.
I'm not liking this one bit.
Not next to Bobby with like her hand over his shoulder. Sister Moran mentioned Bobby did not appear distressed. He didn't hesitate when he approached the woman, left with her willingly. And then this occurred that day, September 28th, before like 11 in the morning, like a little bit before then. Okay. So just about a half hour later, around 11:30, a different sister, Sister Marthana, contacted the Greenlease household just to inquire about the condition of Mrs. Greenlease. Can you guess who answered the phone?
The mom!
Not Mrs. Greenlease.
Mrs. Greenlease answered the phone.
Was she sick?
Did she have a stuffy nose?
Did she at least have the flu?
Oh no.
Did not say. I don't think so.
She didn't sound congested.
That was, yeah.
Erin, you already said this is going to end on a sad note. I'm just prepping myself.
Yes.
Okay. Ready.
So realizing, obviously, that the woman claiming to be Bobby's aunt was a fraud, Mrs. Greenlease called her husband, who immediately rushed home. Kansas City Chief of Police contacted about the abduction, and then the situation was reported to the FBI. Dang. So a few hours later,
that's quick.
That same day, a ransom letter, was delivered in the mail. This is postmarked at 6 p.m. The letter stated, quote, and just bear with me, that they're run-on sentences, grammatical errors, so bear with me.
Don't criticize.
Quote, your boy been kidnapped, get $600,000 in 20s, 10s, Federal Reserve notes from all 12 districts. We realize it takes few days to get that amount. Boy will be in good hands. When you have money ready, put ad in KC Star, I guess a newspaper at the time. We'll meet you in Chicago. Signed, Mr. G. Do not call police or try to use chemicals on bills or take numbers. Do not try to use radio to catch us or boy dies. If you try to trap us, your wife, your other child, and yourself will be killed. You will be watched all the time. You will be told how to contact us with money. When you get this note, let us know by driving up and down Main Street between 39 and 29 for 20 minutes with white rag on car Ariel. If do exactly as we say and try no tricks, your boy will be back safe within 24 hours. After we check money, which when I saw it, it didn't have an M on it. So, money, but money. Deliver money in army duffel bag. Be ready to deliver at once on contact. $400,000 in 20s, $200,000 in 10s. So that was a ransom note.
Good Lord.
And then, so they wanted $600,000, which at the time would be the largest ransom amount ever demanded from a kidnapping at this point in time.
Was his family wealthy?
You ready? Do you
Yes.
want to know what that is in today's money?
Yes, I have it.
You have it?
Yes, I do.
I'm ready. Does your math match my math? Let's go.
Oh, does it? I didn't do it exactly, but a little over $2 million is what I have.
I have 5.
5 million?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Regardless.
It's a lot of money.
Who has that much money?
Oh, wait, never mind. That would be it. Yes, probably around then.
But like...
I have something different.
But
sorry.
Like you said, the biggest ransom note, or ransom request.
Yes.
Like
that makes sense.
Like the 600,000 sounds like a lot even today. But like back then,
yeah.
5 million.
Yeah.
Couldn't even think about that.
Yeah.
Wild.
I like how they were all these detailed, requests, and they're like, hey, it's gonna take a couple days. We get that.
We get that.
Like, that's a chill range.
Take your time.
Would
you know what? Don't push yourself. You've had a really hard day.
Your child's missing.
I don't even need all of it in 20s and 10s.
Yeah.
Just give me 400,000 here, 20,000 there.
We're good to go.
We're friends, right? You and me, we can work this out.
Yeah. Would you like to know a bit about the characters, the kidnappers?
Well, absolutely.
They are intriguing, to say the least. So the ransom letter was sent by kidnappers Bonnie Hetty and Carl Austin Hall. So just some brief background about these two. Hall was the son of a wealthy St. Louis lawyer, and he never worked for a living. He was an alcoholic and a drug addict.
Great.
When his father died, this is where I was getting confused, sorry. When his father died, he was left a small fortune of a little over $200,000, which is a little over $2 million. That's what he was left. $2 million.
No big deal.
What a tough life he had.
Yes. However, due to Hall's addictions, he went through that money pretty quickly. So, yeah.
You could spend your whole lifetime trying to spend that much money.
Oh my God.
Well, he spent it pretty quickly.
Good.
So now he's like, I need to get more money. How do I get more money? So he begins robbing taxis. However, that kind of spree was short-lived. He was sent to the Missouri State Prison, or Penitentiary, where he served 16 months. He was released on April 24th, 1953. So since his first idea did not go as planned, while he was in prison, he was thinking of other ways to make a lot of money quickly. So this is where he devised the plan of kidnapping the son of one of the wealthiest men in Kansas City.
Okay.
Now there we go.
Yes.
Should have waited. Sorry about that.
Yes. And then when Hall was released from prison, he met widow Bonnie Hetty. I don't exactly know where they met, if she knew what day he was getting out. I was a little confused about that. They meet up somewhere, and before even saying any introductions, one of the articles says that Hetty embraces Hall, hugs him, and kisses him passionately, as you do when you first meet someone you've never met.
I don't know, we met, guys.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Passionate kiss, good to go.
It was hot and heavy.
The articles...
That's not true.
Yeah.
Very false. Very, very false.
The article stated that she had been a gun moll in like the 1930s. Does anyone know what a gun moll is?
I was about to say, girl, please tell me.
I thought that was like a new last name.
Basically, it's another, like, we'll say female companion to a male gangster.
Oh.
Yes.
You're so sweet.
But also, they said, like, whore. And that was another term for, like, whore.
Or she's
prostitute
a side lady.
Or sex. Yes.
She is side
But we
chick.
will just say female companion.
Ooh, she's a lady of the night for gangsters only.
Yes!
But she's a little crazy. So, let's see.
Harley Quinn, if
so
you will.
So she was a gun moll to Dan Hetty. So that was her husband, who was a bank robber.
Oh.
And then Dan Hetty, whenever he was imprisoned, he attempted to break out of prison only to be shot down and killed by an officer.
Ooh.
And when Bonnie was told that her husband had been shot to death, she grinned and stated, "That's too bad."
Oh.
Yeah. That's too bad.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like a love-filled marriage, is what you're saying.
Oh, that's kind of harsh.
I don't know. Ooh. And then...
Oh my god.
Yes.
Bonnie. Yeesh.
Yeah. Bonnie was said to also be an alcoholic, just seemed to be addicted and very interested in just criminal types. That's kind of who she was attracted to.
The real bad boys.
Yes. So before she had met Hall, she had heard about him from like ex-prisoners, became very, very interested in him and his crimes. So then after their meeting, she took him back to her home in St. Joseph, Missouri.
Whoa.
As you do. It also mentioned, some of the articles mentioned that rarely were they sober. They would, drink alcohol, do drugs, like every waking moment. When they were, like, briefly sobered up, they began working out the details to this kidnapping plan to get all this money. One of the articles said when Bonnie listened to Hall's plan, she stated, quote, "Why, that's better than sex." I don't know if that's correct. Why, that's better than sex. I don't know. And she agreed to take part in it. Bonnie sounds a little crazy.
Why?
Emotions are everywhere with this woman.
Yes.
Everywhere.
So they were specifically targeting Bobby due to his father, Robert Greenlease Sr., who was a multimillionaire GM auto dealer at the time in Kansas City. So that's why they were specifically going after him.
Okay. Makes sense.
Yeah, that family. After the first ransom note was sent, the news of the kidnapping began to kind of spread around the world, and then there had not been a major kidnapping since the 1930s. One major one being the Lindbergh baby kidnapping that kind of shook the whole world.
It did not end well.
Yes, so this kidnapping was being talked about in the news and the press, so people were all shocked about this one. I did not research this part as much, so maybe you guys can help me figure this out. So one of the articles said, due to the provisions of the Lindbergh Law, which came after the Lindbergh kidnapping, so the Kansas City police is on it, but the FBI cannot immediately enter the case or act for 7 days. If the victim had not been recovered in 7 days, police could assume that the kidnappers had broken the law and taken the victim across state lines. I don't know how accurate that is or what that really means. Besides that, regardless of that, and whether the FBI was acting immediately or not, the Greenleases were pretty adamant about working with the kidnappers, believing that they would not harm their child if they just gave them what they wanted, and they really wanted their child back. And if the kidnappers found out that, the police were investigating them or trying to find them, and they said they would kill the child, so they were just...
It's a balancing act.
Yeah.
What do you think your parents would do? She gone.
They'd be like...
Well, my parents don't have that kind of money, so yeah.
They'd be like, you're asking an awful lot.
I'll give you $5.
My parents always made a joke, like, if someone takes you, I give them a couple days, I'll bring you right back.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's crazy, though. How much to ask about parents? That's terrible.
I know. That's really sad. And then on September 29th, so the next day, a second ransom letter was obtained, postmarked at 9:30 p.m. The ransom letter just contained similar details, like the ransom amount, such and such, but it also included Bobby's Jerusalem medal that he wore. So, and the letter mentioned that Bobby was safe and well, but he was feeling homesick. And then, besides ransom notes, the family, the Greenlease residents, also received numerous phone calls from Hetty and Hall, giving the parents directions on where to leave the ransom money for them to pick up. One article had a phone call from Hall, who called himself M, with Mrs. Greenlease at the other end, and it was recorded by federal agents, so I'm just going to briefly read how that went. This is the only one I could find, so this Mrs. Greenlease starts first. This is Mrs. Greenlease speaking. We have the money, but we must know that our boy is alive and well. Can you give me that? Can you give me anything that will make me know that? And then Hall says, a reasonable request, but to be frank with you, the boy is driving us crazy. We couldn't risk taking him to a phone. Well, I can imagine that. Would you do this? Would you ask him 2 questions? Give me the answer of 2 questions. If I had the answer to these 2 questions, I would know my boy is alive. All right. Ask him what is the name of our driver in Europe this summer. All right. And the second question, so she's, pretty smart.
Yeah.
Second question, what did you build with your monkey blocks in your playroom the last night you were home? If I can get those answers from you, I'll know you have him and that he is alive, which is the thing that I want. We have the boy. He is alive. Believe me, he has been driving us nuts. So not really giving her what she wants, but saying that he's alive. Well, I can imagine that. He's such an active youngster. Mm-hmm. He's been driving us nuts. Could you get those answers? All right. However, they didn't get the answers. I had read in a different article that...
Oh my God.
They were high and they were, drunk a lot, so they would they would be making these calls, and the calls wouldn't really go anywhere besides them, saying information, and then they would just hang up.
How frustrating.
I guess. Yeah. And then one article stated that the Greenleases received over a half dozen ransom notes and 15 telephone calls, over a span of a couple days.
Dang.
Yeah.
We get it. We got the note.
Yeah. The kidnappers contacted the Greenleases for the last time at 1 a.m. on October 5th, 1953. So at this point, they said they had received the ransom money, and that their son would be returned to them in 24 hours. However, unbeknownst to the family, Hetty and Hall had murdered Bobby shortly after the abduction. So not even before the ransom note was even sent. They had already murdered him, which is just very upsetting. And they buried his body near Hetty's house in St. Joseph, Missouri. Once they gathered the ransom money, they left for St. Louis. Hall and Hetty bought 2 large metal suitcases and it was said that they dumped about $300,000 into both, so they kind of split it up. They reportedly buried the suitcases in an ash pit somewhere in South St. Louis. Hall took the rest of the cash with him, so I'll kind of get back to that part. Mm-hmm. So the pair started using the money, get drunk, spend on drinks, spend on other lavish things that they wanted because they could.
The kid's dead. They have nothing else to worry about. Ugh.
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah, it is really sick. The fact that they got the money and they, the parents did what they were told. Yeah.
Well, I feel like you never hear about ransoms going well. Like, they always catch them, I feel like, before they get the ransom money and everything. Like, all
they
you had to
literally
do
got
was
away with
keep
it.
this child alive.
Yep.
On October 5th, Hall deserted Hetty in a rented apartment on Arsenal Street. So Hall left the apartment when she was just passed out drunk, leaving her $2,000 in her purse.
How sweet.
Yeah.
Cool. Wow, what a gentleman.
He took the remainder of the money and went to the expensive Congress Hotel. I couldn't pinpoint where exactly, if that still exists or not, or if it's named something else today, where he spent money on sex workers, gave them, nice tips, which drew the suspicions of hotel employees. One of the hotel employees reported to authorities that, quote, a man is spending big money around the Congress Hotel and he doesn't look the part.
Ooh, shady.
This employee had also, a lot of people had heard, obviously, the Kansas City kidnapping and the largest ransom ever paid out at that point, and just became suspicious of the customer, so thought that he would pass that to the police. And then there was another article that stated kind of something like a different tip. So they didn't mention that a hotel employee did. They mentioned that around 3:30 p.m. on October 6, 1953, a call was received at the 11th District St. Louis Police Department. John Oliver Hager, I believe that's how you pronounce that, a cab driver, also tipped off Hall's location at the Congress Hotel. So, tipped off that he had dropped someone off there that may have matched the description. So then, after these tips were brought in, St. Louis Police Lieutenant Louis Shoulders and Patrolman Elmer Dolan went to investigate the claims that same day. They found Hall apparently hungover in his room at the hotel.
Right.
The two officers said they found more than $250,000 and a .38 caliber snub-nosed revolver with 3 cartridges that had been fired already.
Oh my god.
Well,
just chilling in the hotel.
Hall was so immediately taken in for questioning, and later that night, Hall led the officers to the apartment where he deserted Hetty, and Hetty was also taken into custody. So now they have
the real
both of them.
snitch. Ooh,
Talk about a bad romance.
right.
Yeah. During interrogation, so by the FBI, so it says the FBI's in, so.
Okay.
During the interrogations, Hall admitted to planning the kidnapping, the abduction of the victim, burying the body in Hetty's yard, and picking up the ransom money. At this point, he denied that he murdered Bobby or had anything to do with his murder.
But he just planned it.
I was like,
all?
wait, how did you... Oh, he's admitting to the kidnapping, not to the murder.
Yes. Yeah, that's what he's saying.
Well,
at
so
this point.
sneaky.
Fine line there, buddy.
And then Bobby's body was found by FBI agents at 8:40 a.m. October 7th, 1953, so the next day, after Hall and Hetty were taken in. Buried near the porch of Hetty's home, his body had been wrapped in a plastic bag and lime had been poured over the bag. The Greenlease family dentist identified the body as that of Bobby Greenlease, at 1:05 p.m. that day. Bloodstains had been found on the basement floor and steps, and on a nylon blouse and fiber rug. And then some of those .38 caliber shell casings were also found in the house, which were found to have been fired from the same gun that Hall had in his possession at the time of his arrest.
It's not looking good for you, bud.
No. On October 11th, 1953, so a few days later, Hall confessed that he and Bonnie Hetty drove the victim, from Kansas City, Missouri to Overland Park, Kansas, where Hall shot and killed Bobby Greenlease. So now he's admitting to the murder. Bobby's body was transported and buried in Bonnie Hetty's yard, like I said. And then, I don't know, this is kind of sick to me, but an article stated they planted flowers on the grave.
Who did?
Said any better? I think they did. It didn't say which one. There were flowers just planted on the grave. I don't know.
Covered
if that's true.
I hope it's the morning side.
I don't know. Doesn't make it better either way. After Hall's confession, Bonnie Hetty admitted assisting Hall in the kidnapping of Bobby Greenlease. She told the FBI that she helped in the preparation of the ransom letters and notes of instructions to the Greenlease family concerning the ransom money, as well as going to his school and obtaining Bobby under the guise of Bobby's aunt. Both were arrested and sent to the Missouri State Penitentiary in Jefferson City, Missouri. On October 30th, 1953, Carl and Bonnie appeared before Judge Albert L. Reeves in Kansas City, Missouri. Both Hall and Hetty pleaded guilty to the kidnapping and murder of Bobby Greenlease. The death penalty was brought up after only an hour and 8 minutes of deliberations, and then it said that 15 minutes after the guilty verdict was given, Judge Reeves sentenced both Hall and Hetty to be executed on December 18th, 1953. Only one article said this, but apparently Bonnie at this time has been reported stating, saying, quote, "I would rather be dead than poor." So I guess you get what you get.
Has she ever heard of a job?
That was her job, being a terrible human.
Okay, I was like, because I have a quick solution to not being poor.
And then
not being a lady of the night, step one.
Yes.
A trollop, if you will.
Judge Reeves said, and this was also on the Missouri Penitentiary site, quote, "I think the verdict fits evidence. It is the most cold-blooded, brutal murder I've ever tried."
Yeah.
Both Hall and Hetty were executed side by side in Missouri's lethal gas chamber for the state penitentiary on December 18th, 1953. Hall was pronounced dead at 12:12 a.m., and Hetty was pronounced dead 20 seconds later. And then, as you stated earlier, Hetty was the first and only woman to be executed in the gas chamber. So
sounds like she earned it, though.
Yeah. And then just a little bit of stuff after that. Over half of the ransom, $600,000 ransom money, was never found.
What?
So before his execution, so I'd said that Hall was like, yeah, I buried it, da-da-da. But apparently he stated that he did not bury half of the money in the ash pit, but it had the entire amount of ransom money with him, besides, I guess, whatever he already spent.
Yeah.
Who knows what's true or not. However, the FBI investigated the whereabouts of the ransom money at that time. They found out that the two suitcases that Hall had in his possession at the time of his arrest were never brought to the 11th District Precinct Station as told by the arresting officers. So only $250,000 was brought to the police station. And then due to that, both officers were indicted for perjury. Yes. So they were convicted and given like some short sentences because of it, even though like in articles, Shoulder stated that the amount of money I found was the amount of money I found, like claiming that he had nothing to do with where the remainder of it was. So this is kind of all like hearsay. I don't know if there actually was any evidence claiming that Shoulders and Dolan the rest of the money. I don't know. But anyways, they were convicted. Shoulders was convicted on April 15th, 1954 and sentenced to 3 years in prison. And patrolman Dolan was convicted on March 31st, 1954 and sentenced to 2 years. After they were released from prison, both returned to the St. Louis area. Shoulders died on May 12th, 1962, and Dolan received a full pardon from President Johnson on July 21st, 1965. So one of them was pardoned.
Wow.
And then the ransom money, which all hadn't been found, never surfaced. Apparently a few of like the marked bills appeared, some in Michigan, some in Mexico. They looked for it in other places, other countries, but no trace of it could be found. So it was just gone. And then while this like hunt for the rest of the ransom money was going on, press were giving a lot of coverage to that and not necessarily coverage to the fact that a young child was murdered because of it. So, you know.
As they do.
Yeah. So like the hunt for the money was like ended up being a bigger thing at the very end. But yeah, it was just very sad that kind of got overshadowed by the murder of a young child. And then I tried to find just anything about the family, maybe at the end. I didn't find anything. So on that sad note, that is the story of the kidnapping and murder of 6-year-old Bobby Greenlease.
Poor little guy.
I know. At least, I mean, no good things, but yeah, at least there was justice.
Some closure. Did he have any siblings?
In one of the articles it said there was a sibling.
Yeah, except in the ransom note, he said, I'll come back and kill your other kid and you.
And the wife. And, yeah. So I guess there was another one. I never saw a name.
I wonder if their family line is still going.
I don't know.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a good pick.
Yeah.
Bad people, but good pick.
I know.
Bad people, good pick. Yeah.
I never heard of it. So.
Never.
Well, sounds like, all in all, very glad that, 1, I'm not a ghost yet. 2, I was not in prison ever.
Amen to that.
Nor have I ever killed a small child.
And we're still ending so sad. Did you know, okay, so I'm from Pacific, Missouri, and there's that little prison on the outskirts of town, and it counts towards our population size.
Does it really?
Yes. My dad, whenever we would drive past, always pointed out to people and be like, that's where your brother's going to college.
Oh my goodness.
Fun fact, my brother is 7 years younger. He went to a real college. He's working on race cars. He's not in prison. Just a bad joke. But yes, I'm very happy to be in no prison.
Yeah.
Be alive now. Yeah. And not know anyone like those terrible, terrible people, Erin.
Yeah. And just the fact that, Missouri is obviously our home state. And that something so dark and powerful lived in our state with us. That was a big deal. It was a big prison.
Next time, let's move out of Missouri. I don't want to think about our bad stuff.
Yeah. Next episode, we're out. We're moving out. We're heading on out.
That's it. Bags packed.
Else.
Yeah.
Especially once I find this $300,000.
Yeah.
I'm really packing up.
That'll be the whole episode. How we find the money.
Show me the money.
Who knows? It's somewhere. Don't know.
Okay.
But anyways, yeah. Good stories, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Too.
Come up with next time. Thank you guys for listening. If you would like to email us, our email is sinistersunrisepodcast@gmail.com. And we also have an Instagram page at Sinister Sunrise Podcast. So you can go and check those out when you can. So send us emails, check us out, and hope this was enough sinister sunshine to get you through your day today. See you guys next time.
See ya.
Bye.